Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Coop Radio, NASCAR edition. A little bit later than previous weeks. I apologize to my loyal fans out there for having this thing coming late. Had some stuff going on yesterday. There was literally, you probably don't care, but there's literally no possible way that I could have gotten this show in yesterday. Gotten it sat down, recorded without rushing and it being, shitty and whatever, and been able to put it out on time. There's no way that I was going to be able to put out a good episode on time. So I ended up, today we're recording on Tuesday, and I'll maybe try to get it up tonight, Tuesday night, or if not, then it'll just be a regular time of 6 a.m. Central on Wednesday. But we got a loaded show here for y'all. A interesting weekend this past weekend at Watkins Glen. A lot of stuff from the previous week that just missed the show that I didn't get to really react to until this week. So some of this stuff might feel like old news, but we're still going to talk about a few things. The outcome from last weekend's race at Texas had some stuff that we didn't get to cover, talking about penalties and everything like that. If you didn't listen to last week's episode, I'll go ahead and give you guys a quick synopsis of my feelings on the Kyle Busch, John Hunter thing and the Ryan Preece thing. I had kind of made it clear my feelings on the Kyle Busch thing. I'd said, look, it was obviously his fault at the end of the day. No matter how you try to paint it, I'm not the biggest fan of obviously some of the people that were criticizing him. And I'm also not sitting here saying, hey, John Hunter's a saint. I was definitely not saying that. But I also have to point out the obvious fact that, you can't, if you know and understand the people you're racing around aren't the smartest, aren't the best, aren't very skilled, maybe don't hold their line the same way twice, you kind of have to, in the back of your mind, know and understand that you have to give them a little bit more room. So, obviously, there's the two major wrecks that happened last week at Texas, and everybody kind of has the same feeling. And I'm just going to kind of sit here and reiterate what everybody's already kind of said. So I'm going to kind of bulldoze through this. For anybody who didn't see or has been living under a rock, from last week's fallout, Ryan Preece, who drives the 60 car for RFK, was fined $50,000 by NASCAR because of the incident between himself and Ty Gibbs that occurred in turn 1, I believe, at Texas. Meanwhile, there was no points penalty, no suspension, no fine of any kind towards Kyle Busch for a little bit more egregious crash. I think most people would agree. A little bit more egregious crash between Kyle Busch and John Hunter. So obviously everybody is already in the camp of why is it that one guy is getting penalized and not the other? And it's obvious. The obvious fact is, look, one person verbally admitted to it and made it very clear that that is what he was trying to do. Meanwhile, the other one did not verbalize it at all, did not say anything, kept quiet, and therefore it's a gray area. And that's where obviously NASCAR is coming from. Look, whether Ryan Preece was just saying something in the moment on the radio of like, oh, when I get back to him, he's going to be sorry or something like that. And in the moment, he was extremely upset. And then when it actually happened, he didn't actually mean to do it. It doesn't change the fact that because of the course of events, he publicly said out loud, look, I'm upset with him, Ty Gibbs that being. I'm going to wreck him or I'm going to rough him up when I get to him. And then laps later, Ty Gibbs and Ryan Preece found each other again, and he ended up getting into him and wrecking him. Now, whether it was Ty's fault or it was Ryan's fault, at this point, because of what Ryan said, is a moot point. When you verbalize your feelings about somebody in that way, and then you subsequently get into some sort of wreck with that person where it does look like, from one perspective, that whether it was intentional or not, you gave him no room, and therefore it resulted in a crash, they are going to punish you. I'm not sitting here saying that I agree with the penalty. I don't agree with the penalty. I don't think, to me, I honestly believe, I don't think either wreck should have been penalized. I said this last week. I don't like this idea that, we need to lean so much towards one side of motorsports. We need to make NASCAR more like F1, or we need to make stock car racing more like open wheel racing. I hate that to my very core. And I only see bad things coming from that. But at the end of the day, my feelings on this are moot when it comes to the people who actually run the sport. And they are going to, when they feel like they need to, even though they don't need to, when they feel like they need to step in and do something, they are not going to hesitate to do so. So the idea that they penalized Ryan Preece, I'm honestly just glad there was no points penalty involved. As far as I know, I did not see any points penalty involved. The only thing I saw was a monetary fine, which should not, any monetary fine is not great. Nobody wants to lose money over something that happens on track. But $50,000 in an organization, basically, a company, basically, that is, worth millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars, supposedly, should not be that detrimental, if detrimental at all. So it sucks that we have to sit here and slap the wrist of Ryan Preece for something that at the end of the day, I believe he really didn't do much wrong, if anything wrong. He just didn't give Ty a whole lot of room, and because of what he said, they have to punish him for, again, some reason. And yes, to everybody else's point that everybody already has kind of said throughout the week, yeah, if you were going to penalize somebody, if you were going to fine somebody, Kyle was probably the one that you wanted to fine because it was a much more obvious, intentional wreck than the Ryan Preece incident. Not to mention Ryan Preece's little snippet after the race where he was being interviewed in the pit lane, where he kind of, and I played it on the show, he basically sat and was about to give some sort of corporatized answer of like trying to skirt around the issue, and then he kind of stopped himself and went, actually, just between you and me, even though it was obviously not between him and the interviewer, but he kind of went, between you and me, I didn't want to wreck him, but I also don't feel bad because if you race me a certain way, then I'm going to race you hard the same way back. If you move me out of the way, well, then I'm going to move you out of the way. If you rough me up when you try to pass me, well, then I'm going to rough you up as you try to pass me. And I like that. It makes me a little bit more of a fan of Ryan at the end of the day. Somebody who's willing to stand up, like I said, stand up for himself and his team. It's the biggest reason why I think Carson is, blown up in his popularity, and why I like Carson is that same reason of somebody who is willing to not care about anybody else besides his own guys, his own team. And he's willing to stand there and back his guys till the end. And if more people were like that, then I think more people would be fans of just more people within the sport. So, in my opinion, yes, probably should not have been fined, but it's a slap on the wrist at the end of the day. Some other key pieces of news that came out throughout the week, last week. A couple of people, since we're now getting into the silly season stuff for NASCAR, it has begun. Some people have re-signed to their current contracts to stay at their respective teams. 2 people did. Number one, no surprises in this one. The other one's kind of a surprise. Number one that's not a surprise is the Ryan Blaney one. Ryan Blaney re-signing with Penske was announced earlier last week on the I heard it on Dale Jr. Download. I don't know if it was announced anywhere else, but kind of not surprising there. He is very obviously the best Penske driver and arguably the best Ford driver that the Ford camp has. I would have been genuinely shocked if Penske and Ford would have allowed him to go anywhere else. I mean, you look at that team, you look at the Ford camp. Look, RFK is trying their best to share the spotlight in the Ford camp with Penske. There's flashes where Chris Buescher is, it's pretty obvious he's the best guy in RFK right now. There's flashes of him being pretty good. RFK as a whole, especially this year, has ran very consistent, always in the top 10, always finishing well, keeping themselves out of trouble, playing it smart at all times. And at times, like Darlington, for example, all three of them have, at times found crazy good speed where they're leading laps and running up front, top 5 and top 3. So even though that's the case, when you look at Penske, it's much more of a, look, Penske's still a better organization, I think, overall than RFK right now. But if you were going to make the comparison, RFK, even though they're consistent, they're still also consistently somewhat a step behind somebody in the other Ford camp, somebody within Penske. Now, it depends on the week. I think that most weeks at this point, it's Ryan Blaney by a mile. And it's seemingly not close when it comes to, having all the Penske guys run well at the same time. If Ryan Blaney's running well, then, there's the example like last week where it's Joey Logano is just god awful. He's had multiple races now where he has either just ran in the back the whole time and literally, and when I mean the worst car on track, I literally mean the worst car out there. Worse than the Rick Ware racing car. Worse than all the Trackhouse cars. Worse than Legacy Motor Club. Worse than RCR. Like, there are days where he is the worst guy out there. And it's becoming more consistent than it probably should be. You would expect, okay, kind of like how William Byron is right now. Even though there's growing concern for William Byron as this has started to happen a bit more often, with him just not having the speed, not finding something and being slow, I'm much less concerned about William Byron because of the fact that in the last couple years, he has found legitimate speed. And when I mean legitimate speed, I mean he's actually running well at all different types of tracks, and he's not lucking himself into victories and then barely squeaking by in a convoluted playoff system to where it looks like he's running better than he actually is. That's not the case with William Byron. That's the case with Joey Logano, but that's not the case with the 24 car. They are actually, and have been, consistently fast, where they are always running top 10, top 5, always leading laps, always in contention for wins, getting victories. That's the difference here, is that added in, that previous history added in with, look, Chevrolet as a whole, it's felt like, and whether this is just an excuse that Chevy is putting out there as to why that we haven't found the success we have so far this season, or if it is an actual legitimate issue with the car, the nose change within the Chevy camp has supposedly set them back aerodynamically to where they're still trying to figure out this car and the small, subtle changes that they've done to it over the offseason. So when you add those two things in, I'm not as worried about the 24 as some other people are. Now, at this point, do I think he's going to be, winning the championship by the end of the year? No, I think that last year he had a really good shot, and again, convoluted, playoff system. Whether that's the reason it robbed him or not, who knows? But this is so far has been a off year for him. And so everybody has those every now and then. Not everybody's winning 8 races a season. People have good years and bad years. And I have no issue with William Byron as of right now. Logano, on the other hand, is a completely different story. Logano, he has been bad for a long extended period of time. But these casual fans who have only known the playoff system and only go based off of the actual showing of the playoff system, they don't actually care about where they're actually running during, every other race besides their victories. They only care about, do they get one random win within the first 26 races of the season so they can make the playoffs. That's the only thing these casual fans care about. And these other fans on like X that you'll see or Instagram comments that just, they are fed the information from NASCAR being told this is how you're supposed to value a driver. And it is solely based off of if they can even win one race in a season, added with how did they do in the last 10 races, based off of our, again, convoluted playoff system. If you're not one of these people that just eat everything that the NASCAR, machine feeds you, and you just look at the numbers of how Logano has ran, he's been awful for a good amount of time. And added that, he's not been great in a lot of the years that he's won championships. The one year that he actually was one of the statistical best drivers and probably should have won the championship was 2015. And if you go back and look at the annals of history of what happened in 2015, you obviously know why that didn't happen. And at the same time, there's been so many other times where 2018, 22, 24, where he's won these championships, and it has, again, been because of the fact of just pure, it really is, in a way, pure luck, or just gaming the system is really what it is. It has just been a constant gaming of the system, and that is why we no longer have the system. And so now that we no longer have the system that he can just game, his true colors are going to come to form. And when he doesn't get a random win, in the first 5-6 weeks of the season to just crutch off of for the rest of the year, and then you look at the actual points, oh my God, he's 18th? Yeah, that's where he's kind of been for a while. Now, granted, it's amplified now because of the fact that he's had these couple of really bad runs where he's just been one of the worst cars out there. But even if you replace those with where he probably normally runs on a weekly basis, he's still probably outside the bubble. And if not outside the bubble, he's right on it. So this is not a shock to me that Logano is pretty bad. And so that's why, again, and look, Cindric is just Cindric. I don't think he will always be exactly what he is now, which is just a guy who runs laps, and he might every now and then just get a random lucky win. I really don't think he'll have much better of a career than like Austin Dillon will. And it is almost worrisome because if that's the case, there's another solid seat that probably should be winning more races than it is and has a very long storied like the 2-car has a very long storied history of success over almost all of its drivers that it's had in it. And now to like have this just brick of a driver to take over the car and probably for the next for the foreseeable future for some reason, it's going to be a long road for anybody who was a 2-car fan of just mediocre runs, 20th to 15th, maybe 15th to 10th in a good year, every now and then with a top 10 run, and a random win, mostly by luck. Or he'll just randomly show up one week and for some reason, the team just found something that everybody else doesn't have, and so that's why he gets the victory. But it's not so much on him, it's more so on the team just finding something and testing or R&D or just got lucky with the setup. So when it comes to Penske, Ryan Blaney and Ford as a total, he is Ford. And it's, especially when you also look at what is the Ford development camp right now. There's no Ford drivers in the O'Reilly series. Ford has basically removed itself from the best series in NASCAR for some reason. I still don't understand why. There's no teams out there that are driving Fords. There's only one that's at this point basically running a part-time schedule with Nick Sanchez. But besides that, there's just no one. And you look at the trucks, and we've kind of all cleaned out a lot of the talent in the truck series right now. So a lot of the guys that are in the truck series, they need time to, if the people that you will actually probably seriously consider in the future to be a possible Cup guy, they need a lot of time to sit and marinate and learn. And it's not anytime soon. So yeah, Ryan is their guy. And what's even more sad is the fact that Ryan is one of the best guys consistently on speed. If you were to really say amongst the totality of this season, you're going to say, who are the top 3 guys on speed? You're going to say Reddick, number 1, obviously, with his 5 victories. You're going to say probably Chase Elliott at this point, as far as being consistent. And, if it's not Chase, then you'd say Denny Hamlin. As far as, again, finding consistent speed. Even at the road courses, yeah, sure. Hendrick had a rough day a few days ago at Watkins Glen, but take that out, and Chase is still one of the most consistent guys out there. Denny Hamlin as well. So I'd say the 9 and the 11 are interchangeable, but Ryan is for sure in that top 3. As far as guys who have been consistently fast across the entire season, almost every week they have, if not race-winning speed, top 5 speed. And what is depressing about it for any Ryan Blaney fan out there is the fact that for some reason, your best guy, you got him with the worst crew statistically for a multitude of weeks that probably cost him multiple wins. Hasn't been a talking point over these last few weeks since they changed crews. So maybe they obviously sorted something out, and hopefully he'll be, a little bit better going forward, and maybe it'll help him get some of those wins back. But there's a lot of things that within the Ford camp as a whole have just confused me throughout this entire season. I've talked about it multiple times about them not having an O'Reilly Series car. And, like I said, Ford is basically all but stripped of all of their talent in the development system. And, Keelan Harvick, who, by the way, I understand that, okay, we're talking about a 13-year-old child here, and I'm not a big fan of, advertising for a 13-year-old child to be the future of some major racing team already. But that was somebody who you probably would have expected to be a Ford driver, considering that his dad was a Ford driver for the last how many years of his career before he retired. I assume that Ford would want to be all over that, especially, again, considering the fact that they got nobody waiting in the wings. And I know that the only person who's sitting there waiting in the wings for a Cup ride, they're not getting. The only guy who's actually ready, they're not getting. And that's Corey Heim, by the way. So, yeah, you got to sign him. And you got to pay him whatever. And I hope that he sat there and went, yeah, I can see the writing on the wall of what's going on with Ford. And you need me. You damn sure need me, because you look across the board at all the guys you got driving your cars, and it is literally, talent-wise, probably Chevy 1, Toyota 2, and Ford is a distant 3. I like Chris Buescher as much as the next guy, but look at the crop of talent that you have in all the Ford cars. I mean, the 51 is supposedly maybe going to change and it won't be Cody Ware anymore. But even still, right now it's Cody Ware in one Ford. I like Josh Berry, but whatever is going on there with that 21, whether it is him or it's the 21, the speed has not been there. Even at the short tracks, really. I mean, he's had like maybe one flash this year where he had some speed, but didn't get the result for it. Penske, like I said, is Logano, who's basically a shell of what he used to be, and Cindric, who probably will be Austin Dillon for his career. And then RFK, which, look, I love Brad, but Brad's not going to be around much longer. He'll probably be around for another couple of years. Chris Buescher, I think, is a good driver. I think he is very good. So he's a solid 2 to have behind Ryan Blaney. And look, I was praising Ryan Preece earlier, but the consistent top 10s are nice, but there has been no consistent sign yet of him being a consistent winner of 3, 4, 5 races a year. So as far as I'm concerned, I think it's Blaney 1, Buescher 2, and Preece 3. And then everybody else is just kind of a mangled mess behind him. And the reason why it's such a distant 3 is, again, because of the fact that, look, I mean, Chevy has Kyle Larson, which most everybody is like, oh, he's the best racer in the world right now. Pump your brakes on that, but he is good. Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, William Byron, those 3 right there are equal, if not better, than Ryan Blaney. So they've already got you beat there. You go to the Spire group, where you have Carson Hocevar, who is taking big leaps, a lot better, a lot more consistent, still very young, has a very bright future. McDowell is on his way out. I know he's talking about that he won't leave until some Spire development drive. Well, I don't even remember his name. But I saw some article recently about how McDowell said he'll retire when there's some Spire development driver that's in trucks right now. Once he is ready, then McDowell will move out of the seat. I don't know if he'll be around that long, but McDowell's on his way out. But he has his flashes, so he's just an okay guy there. Suarez, I'm not a big fan of, so I'd say he's probably in the mixed with like Cindric. He's right around there as far as talent level wise. Kind of low to mid-level guy. RCR, like I said, again, Cindric is basically Austin Dillon. They have Austin Dillon, and I don't think that I've already had this conversation multiple times now, so I'll just gloss over this. I don't think that Kyle Busch is nearly as bad as people are making him out to be. Everybody now is just willing to just write him off and tell him he needs to retire and quit and all this other stuff. I don't think he's as bad as people are believing he is. I think it's all equipment. And again, you compare that also with Toyota. The Legacy Motor Club group, Jones is okay. Again, I don't know how much of that is equipment, how much of that is him. John Hunter, I'm not a big fan of. So he's I would say he's probably below Cindric, honestly. But I mean, even the Gibbs group right there is all 4 guys are probably either better than Blaney or right there. Hamlin, I believe, is better than Ryan Blaney. But again, Hamlin's on his way out. He's probably going to be out either at the end of this year or the end of next year. Briscoe, I think, is right there. His issue is, while a lot of the times what holds Blaney back is his crew this year, Briscoe is almost like it's just everything. He's had the speed to win races almost every week, and it's seemingly something weird, something different every time that holds him back from actually getting those victories and actually getting over that hump. Gibbs has came into his own this year. He's won himself a race. He's ran up in the top 10, top 5 most the entire season. And then Christopher Bell, who already has a good amount of success to his name, won a lot of races, always a legitimate contender. So Ford is behind. So Ryan Blaney is extremely, extremely valuable. Now, I didn't mention the Chevy team because I was going to talk about them here in a second, but the Hayek group, this is the surprise. The Hayek group, Hayek Motorsports, has decided to resign Ricky Stenhouse Jr. to the 47 car for multiple seasons. Again, this is what bothers me about NASCAR now is I want to be able to be told the amount of years. I don't want all this shit to be in secret. When you get announced that so-and-so from free agency in either the NFL, the NHL, the MLB, the NBA, all these other major sports, they're signed, and then you're told they're signed for this many years and this much money. I want to be told that. I want to be told how much so-and-so is making. I would love to have myself a list of seeing who is the highest paid driver right now in NASCAR. And for how many years are they under that contract? Because it gives you a better idea, not only as myself being a podcaster, but as just a regular fan who doesn't do a podcast, understanding the value of whatever team has for a certain driver. And you can also make the comparison of, okay, so-and-so's getting paid $10 million a year, for example. I don't know, but just $10 million because it's an easy number. $10 million for, Kyle Busch because, he's one of the older guys who's already won multiple championships and is a Hall of Fame driver. And then you can compare that to like Christopher Bell, who's getting paid $3 million, or, Kyle Larson, who's getting paid 7 or 8, or, you know what I mean? Like, I want to be able to make that comparison. And I also would like to know how much these guys are getting paid. Like, is the reason why Ricky Stenhouse got signed to Hayek Motorsports because he's coming at a steep discount compared to the other drivers that are already either coming up from the O'Reilly series or other options that they could have had, Alex Bowman? Is he coming in at a steep discount and that's why Hayek Motorsports decided to keep him around for the next how many years? I mean, look, on the surface, yes. Is the 47 car just out there running laps? Yeah, it is. It's not competing for wins. It's not even competing for a chase spot. It's not even almost competing for a top 25 in points. It's out there running laps, trying to finish the race and keep the car clean. And the one thing I will give Stenhouse credit for is it's seeming that as his career has progressed, he has become cleaner and you don't see him involved in a lot of shit. It's very rare that you see him involved in something that either he caused or that he was the catalyst of, or somebody got mad at him because of something he did on track. And so therefore, it put him in a rough spot and then he makes a mistake. You don't see him making a lot of catastrophic mistakes where he's spinning the car out or just losing control or pounding it into the wall or whatever. You don't see that a lot from him. And so I can only perceive as to why they would decide to sign Ricky as some sort of combination of he's coming in at a discount compared to the other people that they could have signed, like an Alex Bowman. He keeps our cars clean relatively every week, which helps us with our costs as far as being able to save money and reuse a lot of the stuff off the car and, not destroy our shit where it takes X amount of more hours to fix it and all this other stuff. And he's also just even keel, doesn't make enemies, doesn't put us in bad spots, isn't a bad PR guy. It's just that's all they want. And I mean, I guess that's fine if that's your goal of just running 30th to 25th, maybe top 25 if you're lucky in the points. And not going any farther than that, but I still would rather. I still feel as though, and maybe I'm butthurt because I had an idea in my head, but I really felt like, to me, the perfect signing for Hayek Motorsports to take that 47 car was Alex Bowman. And whether they did have an interest in Alex and they found out, look, he's not going to be available and, you know, he's either going to stay in the 48 or he's too much money or whatever. Something obviously would have made them stop them from going to get Alex. And I don't know if they actually were ever pursuing Alex. Maybe they were just completely happy and content with keeping Ricky. But Ricky has always been and always will be just a guy that, you know, fills a spot within the now 36 spots that are available. And yeah, he's fine. And maybe it is a perfect fit because he's just good enough for the car and equipment that he is given. And he's completely content with where he's at. He's completely content with what the team's goals are. And he's completely aligned with what their mission as a team is. And that's why they wanted to keep him, and that's why they re-signed him. I still just, on a personal level, don't see the benefit in keeping somebody who, for their entire career, has won, not even a handful of races, has never been relatively fast, and regardless of whatever equipment he's been in, and doesn't seem like there's an opportunity to find a gem. And maybe it's me. Maybe I have a more aggressive mindset of, look, I'd rather take the chance on some young guy or some younger, I should say, not some 18-year-old who's getting paid and is getting the opportunity because dad is funding the team. I'm not saying that. I'm saying somebody who maybe has a little bit more potential to take you on the next step. Somebody who maybe has a bit more talent in them, maybe can find more speed out of your car than Ricky can. And this is where I thought that Alex was a good fit because, look, Alex, since he came back from his vertigo stuff, I have to give him credit. He has been better. He's been faster. He's shown more speed. He had those top threes in a row. Now, granted, one was a drafting track, but at the same time, you two top fives in a row, compared to what he was previously running is a major improvement. And when there's that combined with the idea that he is also a pretty clean racer himself, he is also a very even keel guy who isn't going to go out and say something crazy or be a PR disaster of any kind and, make enemies on the track. I don't think there's too many people that really dislike Alex Bowman. People might not like the fact that he's won the, 8 races that he's won in the 8 years he's been in Cup, and people don't like it because they feel like all 8 wins have been just pure luck, and why does he get to take a premier ride when a lot of his victories and a lot of his success has just been, again, because of the equipment he's been in, and it's not based off of his own talent. I can understand those gripes to some degree, but at the same time, look, I'm willing to say, look, he's ran better now. He's looked better since he's came back, and maybe it is a combination of he's got a fire lit up his ass because he doesn't know what the future holds for him there, combined with the extra time off that he's had compared to other people being on the road and being in more races and maybe more worn down. I don't know. At the end of the day, I don't know. I can only take guesses. But I felt like Alex was a perfect fit for that 47 and a perfect fit for Hayek Motorsports. A team that, if that is your end goal of just wanting to run clean, run consistent, and try to get the best finish that you possibly can based off of the equipment and funding and, X, Y, and Z that you have, compared to the other teams, I felt like Alex was an okay guy. Was honestly a better pick than a lot of other people because now you have a longer runway with the guy that you have, and maybe what he's learned at Hendrick, being there for the last 8 years, he can then take to Hayek Motorsports and say, hey, this is what I've learned. The Chris Gabehart thing. Hey, this is what I've learned over at a higher team. This is what I can offer you as far as what they're doing compared to you. And then Hayek Motorsports themselves can say, okay, let's take what Alex has learned at Hendrick and apply it to what we're doing here. And maybe we can make some changes. Maybe we learn, okay, they're doing something better than us, but then also at the same time, you can learn, oh, actually, we're doing this better than they are. It was a good move, I felt like, for Hayek Motorsports for sure. And look, was it probably not a good career move for Alex Bowman because that would have cemented him as forever in that spot, and he probably would have never gotten another opportunity to race for any of the big three teams ever again? Yes. It would have shackled him to once again racing for a smaller team, and he probably wouldn't have really had any more chances to win any more races for the rest of his career besides luck on super speedways. But here's the game that you play with that is I still believe inevitably, whether it is this year or sometime next year, that 48 car is going to change drivers. It's just going to. All three other drivers within Hendrick have performed at championship levels within the last 8 years that Alex has been in that 48 car. The 9 cars won a championship. The 5 cars won multiple championships. The 24 has had championship level seasons and came close to winning a championship. All 3 other cars have won multitude of races. They've all 3 had great respective seasons, not only points wise, but also accumulating a large amount of wins. Alex has not had that. He's had 1 year where he won 4 races, but that is almost negated by the other 7 years of just being mid to low level on the standards of a top big 3 team. This is the same car. This is the same number. This is the same group. Maybe not the exact same people, but the template, the shell of what it is, this is the same template that won 7 fucking championships. And look, everybody blooms at different times and everybody gets it at different times. Some people get it early, some people get it late. I get that, but it's been 8 fucking years. 8 years of just being there. Oh, Alex won this week in a random ass week. Oh, he's got another one this week. Oh, good for him. Where's he at in points? Oh, he's behind all of his teammates. Every year. Where is he running consistently? Oh, he's behind all of his teammates. Every year. Look, I also understand the argument. This goes out to one of my friends. I understand the argument of, well, there's always going to be a 4th guy. There's always going to be somebody within that Hendrick Motorsports group that's always going to be the weak link. I understand that. But when it's the same weak link every single year, I talked about a minute ago how, hey, William Byron is having an off year this year. That's okay. Not every year is your year. Chase Elliott was the obvious 3rd guy within Hendrick Motorsports last year when William Byron was much better. Sometimes people get it and their team's on and they're winning races and they're running up front and they're leading laps and they're finding success and they're a championship contender, and then their teammate isn't so great and he's kind of a step behind. And sure, he's every now and then, every couple weeks, he's up there in the top 5 or competing for a win or getting a win. But he's always somewhat a step behind his teammate. Then it flips the next year. Somebody gets it another year. This happens amongst all the 3 major teams, except for Penske. This is pretty much obvious. It's the 12 every season. But now within the other 2 big 3, within Gibbs and Hendrick, it's much more of a rotation. Hamlin is usually one of the faster guys there, and that's why it's like, okay, well, Larson is usually one of the faster guys in Hendrick, but this year is a prime example of, well, Larson hasn't won in like a whole, what did somebody say? He hasn't won in a whole 365 days? He hasn't won? He hasn't won all season? Guy who's the reigning champion hasn't won a race all season? Kind of been somewhat of a step behind. Yeah, he's had weeks where he's had race winning speed and he's finished top 2 or top 3, but still hasn't gotten there. So he's kind of like their number 2 right now. Chase has all of a sudden emerged himself as the number 1 guy in Hendrick. Ty Gibbs for the last how many years has been the 4th guy. Ever since he got the Cup, it was everybody else and Ty. He was so far behind everybody else, finishing just inside the top 20 or outside the top 20. Now, all of a sudden this year, he's found his groove, and he's found it. But here's the thing. Alex, he found it, and now he's like just lost it, and he never found it again. He found it that one year where he won 4 races, and since then, he's just completely lost it. And he's never found it again. Consistency can only get you so far. And by the way, that consistency still needs to be consistent top 10s, consistent top 5s when you're a big 3 team. When you're a part of one of the big 3 teams, it needs to be consistent top 10s and consistent top 5s if you're not winning those races. If you're not Kyle Larson winning 10 races in a season, then you need to be Chase Elliott. Where, hey, I'm not winning, every other race, but I'm running up towards the front. I'm finishing top 5. I'm finishing top 10. Justifies me being in this car. But there's no real justification at this point to continuously pump money into somebody who really isn't going to take the next step. And look, you feel bad because Alex is seemingly a good guy. And again, he's on the level. He's an even keel guy. He's, not a dick. Isn't an asshole on track. Doesn't race like a shithead. He just races like any other normal good guy. But at the same time, there's always been somebody who's came in and rolled out the same door. Casey Mears was that guy in Hendrick for a bit, and he was rolled out the door for somebody else. Brian Vickers was that last guy in Hendrick for how many years, and then was rolled out the door. Casey Kane. Because I can't say Dale Earnhardt. I can't say Junior was that 4th guy, but Casey Kane was that 4th guy. But then Hendrick. Even though he was kind of only the 3rd guy, but he was also towards the end the 4th guy. And then again, he was rolled out the door for somebody else. It's time. It's been 8 years. We're approaching a decade. It's been 8 years. He's had plenty of time. It's over. And it's okay. There are plenty of people who make it to Cup, get X amount of years, maybe get a couple wins, and the sport moves on. There is a great career that can be made if he does not find another Cup ride. Alex Bowman, that is. If he does not find another Cup ride, there's plenty of opportunities, probably, for him to have a good career in the O'Reilly Series or a good career in the Truck Series. There's plenty of people. Look at AJ Allmendinger. AJ was a mid to bottom level guy in Cup for how many years? And then he took a step back, whether by choice or not. He took a step back, went to the O'Reilly Series, and had a great amount of success. won a ton of races, was competing for championships, might have not won one of the championships, but had a lot more success and was probably able to find job stability within the O'Reilly series. And it's not like the O'Reilly series is, minimum wage. You're still making a good amount of money. Look at Justin Allgaier. Justin Allgaier was another guy who had a flash in the Cup Series, and hey, he never got the opportunity that Alex did, but he had a flash in the Cup Series. It didn't work out. Took a step back, went back down to the O'Reilly Series, and it's been there ever since. And hey, guess what? There's a reason why there's a debate for him to be in the Hall of Fame. Because of that level of success that he was able to find in a secondary series. People are fans of people, fans of drivers like Alex Bowman or, Austin Cindric or Austin Dillon or, any of these other mid to low level guys talent-wise. If you were to ever suggest that they take a step back and they maybe just go to the O'Reilly series, do an Elliott Sadler, make a great career out of the O'Reilly series, be like Ron Hornaday or Tom Bodine or Matt Crafton, Johnny Sauter, all these other countless names who made careers in the Truck Series, Timothy Peters, current day Justin Allgaier, like I said, all these other people who were in the O'Reilly Series or the Truck Series for an extended period of time for most of their career and found great success. And hey, look, Ron Hornaday's a Hall of Famer because of his success in the Truck Series. And I guarantee you, he's not living off of food stamps. He's probably got plenty of money, and he's probably living comfortably. So I think it's time. It's been time. It's been time for Hendrick to pull the plug on him and find somebody else who's going to get over that hump and take that next step. Because here's the thing. If it was the crew chief, or if it was the crew, or if it was whoever was working on that car, they would have already made 3-4 changes by now if it was them. And they were actually believing that those people, those other outside forces on the 48 car, were the reason why they weren't getting over that hump and the reason why they weren't finding the success that they hoped. But at this point, there's only one common denominator, and it's the driver. So I had hoped that he was going to go to Hayek, but that seat's now closed. So now what is he going to do? Is he going to spend another season in Hendrick in the hopes that, next year, 2027 is the year that he takes the next step. 2027 is where he finds those 4 or 5 victories again and is a true contender for the championship. No, he's not. He's going to waste another year. And again, next year, or whenever he ends up getting removed from that ride, he'll be just sitting there now looking around going, who's going to take me? And at this point, it's tough because there's only a few rides now. If you look around, now I'm not going to do silly season stuff on this episode. I might do that next week, but especially because it's the All-Star race, it might be a good time to do a full silly season predictions. But if you look around, there's only a few rides left that could possibly open within the next few years, and then after that, they're all kind of locked down. The 6th car will probably open up in the next couple of years when Brad Keselowski inevitably retires. Same thing with the 11. Same thing with the 8 if, God forbid, if Kyle decides to keep putting himself in mental hell and stay at RCR, which I don't believe he will, but there's 3 guys that'll probably retire within the next couple of years. I think that people think that Joey Logano is really, really old, but he's still probably got, if he wanted to, and unfortunately I believe he probably will, he could probably still race another 10 years. So if Penske's committed to him, then he won't leave that ride for the next decade. I don't know about Austin Cindric. I don't think that he's leaving his ride. If I were to look at the point standings right now and just take a look at the possible openings, maybe the 7. I don't think Suarez, I don't think that Spire's too committed to Suarez. I don't think that SVG is rushing out the door yet. I think that I think probably another 3-4 years, I could see him sticking around at Trackhouse. Chase Briscoe isn't going anywhere. I don't think Ross Chastain is going anywhere. Maybe AJ Allmendinger in the 16, but again, that's a big step back. Being a Colleague car, that's a big step back. McDowell supposedly claims that he's not leaving until that prospect or whatever that's racing in the Truck Series for Spire moves up, so that's no longer open. I don't think Zane Smith is going anywhere. Austin Dillon might leave within the next couple of years, but he might also just nobody's going to kick him out of the ride. He just likes to race. So I wouldn't be surprised if he just keeps racing. Eric Jones, I don't think is leaving anytime soon. Neither is Todd Gilliland. Riley Herbst, even if Riley Herbst were to leave, that spot's being filled by Corey Heim. I don't think John Hunter's leaving. Gregson now, maybe Gregson. But again, what is that 4-car bed? Now, again, is that Gregson or is that the 4-car? But Gregson maybe. I know the Zilich isn't going anywhere. Maybe Ty Dillon. Custer, I don't think is going anywhere because I don't know what the connection that Custer has with Haas, but there's somewhat of a connection there, and so I don't think he's going to go anywhere. And I don't think Cody Ware is going anywhere either. So this is where you're left. What's open? Well, the possible openings are a bunch of other mid to low level teams like Colleague or RCR. And besides that, I just don't think that RFK would get Alex. I think that would be a bad move for RFK. I think that they would rather go try to find somebody else who maybe is on the younger side and a bit more potential to possibly take that next step and win a championship. Joe Gibbs, they have no interest in Alex Bowman. I already know that. Their standards are higher and they can see the writing on the wall. They're not stupid. They see it clear as day. There's nothing there with him. Besides that, I mean, you're kind of shit out of luck. So, that being said, I'm not going to do a full rundown of silly season this week. I think I'll set something up for next week since it's the All-Star race. But let's get into the happenings of this past weekend. So, I had all 3 series at Watkins Glen. Overall look, it's a road course. I don't know why they chose to move Watkins Glen up to May. It felt very weird it being on Fox because for any of those old school fans, know and understand that the schedule for most years was not played with. And there was a good amount of time where when it came to the broadcast, like the last race of the season for Fox specifically was at Sonoma. And obviously Sonoma's, later in the year now. It's not, the second to last race for Fox. Watkins Glen has now taken that spot, being the earlier road course right there. But at the same time, it is it's very odd seeing Watkins Glen this early. And so I understand people do somewhat like the Glen. I like racing it. I think it's a fun track just because there's not a lot of corners. It's not extremely technical. There's a lot of just straightaways and keeping up your speed and somewhat, in that realm. It's not very corner heavy, but as a race, it's just another road course. Some people might find it more entertaining than Coda, or some of these other road courses probably be more of an entertaining race than, say, probably San Diego that we go to later this year. But I, as a NASCAR fan, again, find myself just sitting down and watching a road course. And in my head, when I think road course racing in NASCAR, I think of those two tracks. I think of Sonoma and I think of Watkins Glen. I don't think of Coda. I don't think of San Diego. I don't think of Road America. I don't think of, the Roval. I don't think of Indianapolis road course. I think of Sonoma and Watkins Glen, just those two. And I don't know if it is the introduction of these road course ringers. And maybe some people might blame it on that. But I don't think it is that. I don't know if it is the car. I don't know if it is because even like the Truck Series race, and I somewhat enjoy the O'Reilly Series race. But even still, like, even when Connor had his problems, for anybody who watched the O'Reilly Series race, Connor had some issues. He made a mistake and had some damage on his car. Even after that happened, I never felt like the race was in jeopardy for him. Or even when Shane Van Gisbergen pit in the Cup race, and he drove from 25th all the way to the lead in like 8 minutes. I never felt like there was no, like, that, oh, they're going to be able to beat him. That they'll be able to keep enough speed in the car and save fuel in order for them to then outlast Shane. I show up now at almost every road course, not just Watkins Glen. I show up at every road course and I go, okay, well, if Shane is in it, then he's winning. If Shane isn't in it and Connor's in it, then he's winning. And if neither of them are in it, then maybe somebody else obviously has a chance. But if it's one of those two, it's not really a competition. And look, I mean, it's telling when, what's the story been all year when it comes to Trackhouse? They have been slow. They have not been able to find speed at almost any other track. All the ovals, they have mid to low level speed. Even Ross Chastain has been slow, running 15th to 20th most weeks. Shane's been even worse than that. He's been somewhere between the 20s and 30s, and even Connor's been worse than that. There's been times where he's been just outside the 30s. Or excuse me, outside the 20s, I should say, but in the 30s. So when you have that storyline all year long of like Trackhouse has been really bad and really slow and they just haven't found the speed, and in some ways they've been just as bad as RCR, and then you come in here and I mean, even with all of those previous issues, Trackhouse's Shane Van Gisbergen and Connor Zilisch to somewhat of a lesser degree in the Cup Series just blow the doors off everybody. And it really isn't their fault. It's not their fault. If you get so good at something that you are almost just a guarantee, where literally it was joked on the broadcast for the Cup Series race that, it's, you're either picking Shane Van Gisbergen or the entire field. Some people are, you'd say it as a joke, but at this point it's just reality. It's almost just like a guarantee at this point that if you go to a road course, if Shane's not winning the race, it's because of something out of his control. Either he's involved in some sort of wreck that hinders his car so badly that he can't physically make up the time, or, the car just doesn't allow him to. Which even in this case, this is why I'm bringing up the point of them not finding the speed all year, is because, look, I wouldn't be hard pressed to believe that they showed up with somewhat of a similar car on speed. If you were to take, I would not be shocked if they showed up to Watkins Glen this past weekend, and if you had somebody else drive Shane's car, they'd be way off, like 20, 30 seconds back. And Shane was in like a 2311 car or a Hendrick or a Gibbs car, he'd be blowing the door, like he'd be lapping the field. But even with his lesser equipment, lesser speed on just car alone, his talent is almost just making up for it. And you can't tell me that it's not his talent. Like everybody knows at this point, like it's his talent. Because I get it. The cars are all similar. You know, everyone's driving basically the same thing besides small things. I get it. But it is such a consistency that he's able to do things that quite literally everybody else in the field, and this includes Connor in a lot of ways, at least when it comes to the Cup car, he's able to do things with it that just nobody else can physically do right now. And maybe in 3 years, 2 years max, or 2 years at the earliest, somebody can figure it out and practice enough and get talented enough to compete with him. And that's what it would take that long to probably just be able to compete with him. And it's not even like, again, it's not like it's like Connor where he's really good at Watkins Glen, but he's very talented at other road courses, just not as good when it, comes to the other courses compared to Watkins Glen. Like Watkins Glen is his bread and butter. No, it's not even that. It's any road course. When we go to Sonoma later this year, I'm picking Shane to win. When we go to the San Diego race, I'm picking Shane to win. When we go to whatever other road course is even left on the schedule after that, I'm picking Shane to win that race. By the way, next year at COTA, I'm already telling you now, I'm picking Shane to win that race. Next year's Watkins Glen race. If Shane is alive and driving a car, I'm picking him to win that race. Same thing at Sonoma. Same thing at any other random road course they might add to the schedule next year. I don't care if they go to Canadian Tire or they go back down to Mexico again. I don't care if they fly all these fucking cars overseas to some goddamn random road course in Europe. I'm picking Shane every single time. Doesn't matter, again, it doesn't matter if it's the Cup car or the truck or the O'Reilly Series car. I mean, there's more variables with the lower series cars for obvious reasons, but this Cup car, it's not even close. And it becomes almost like embarrassing to watch because in your head, you go, oh, we have some of the most talented guys. This game goes back to the whole Kyle Larson's the most talented racer on the planet. Is he? Is he really? Because if he's the most talented guy, he should be able to at least compete with somebody at any respective track within his own series. We're not even talking open wheel, F1, IndyCar. Not talking any of that. Talking NASCAR Cup car, which is what he does for a living, or is at least supposed to put all of his focus on every year for a living, where he's in one of the best, if not the best team in the sport, with one of, if not the fastest cars almost every week, at least supposed to be fastest car every week, and yet you can't even compete with somebody who, by the way, again, has lesser equipment, less money, probably a worse setup, probably slower car overall, and yet you can't even compete with him. He'll fucking probably lap you if you give him enough time. So this road almost just becomes kind of like it's kind of whatever, I guess. And I think another thing too is I'm so ready to be done with Fox. I really am. I'm so ready to go to Amazon Prime. I'm so ready to go to TNT. I'm so ready to go to NBC and USA. I'm so ready to not have this broadcast anymore. Everyone was bitching about the camera angles. Look, my big complaint hasn't even been the fact that they haven't even been able to find crashes that happen on track. That hasn't even been my complaint. My complaint has been the broadcast booth as a whole. I find it to just be at times obnoxious to listen to. And Mike Joy has lost so much of the, I don't know, talent, the God-given ability, whatever it is that he lost. He lost something. Where he's not the same broadcaster he used to be. And I would chalk that up to age, which again is why I'm not sitting up here bashing him every week, is because I know and understand, look, there's a reason why DW doesn't do it anymore. You know, I think Larry McReynolds is kind of I think he's still pretty good at what he does. But again, he's not relied to be a play-by-play commentator. He's randomly asked to jump in and like the most small snippet parts of just saying, this is why so-and-so is doing this on pit road, or why, you know, what is the strategy? What should they be doing? What we might expect, you know, the trends, the caution trends or whatever. He's only asked to do very small things, which is why he comes across as though he hasn't lost a step. Mike Joy, on the other hand, is missaying people's names, stumbling over his words, missing calls completely. Now, part of it maybe is him, but part of it is also, I think, the two he has standing next to him. He doesn't have the chemistry that he used to have with, again, DW and Larry McReynolds. Clint Boyer he gives me a headache. Like, hurts my ears to listen to him after too long. And Kevin is just boring. I mean, I get it. Jeff Gordon was probably a worse commentator than Kevin Harvick is, but you're comparing garbage to like less garbage. They're still both garbage. They're still both not very good at the job of being a commentator. And Kevin's attempt is to bring some stupid new word that the young kids are saying. Oh, I heard my 13-year-old son say this word, and my 13-year-old son says that everybody says this, so I'm now going to forcefully insert this into my broadcast to seem like I'm cool and hip with the kids, or that I'm being funny. And this is my way of being entertaining. It's just cringe. That's all it is. It's just cringe. But everybody else's complaint isn't even the commentary. Everybody else's complaint, especially off of the heels of last weekend, or this past weekend, I should say, was just the missing of stuff that happens on track. Now, this isn't new, but this was egregious. This was egregious this past weekend at Watkins Glen. Look, there's been other times where we've had crashes that have happened on ovals that they've missed. But it's been like one or two. In the last lap alone, Fox missed like 2 separate incidents, combined with the fact that they never really got the replay of the Cody Ware incident. Like anything and everything that happened on track. We don't even also know, by the way, they never told us, they never even found out, they never even asked why Bubba was yelling at Christopher Bell. Because, and I still don't know, because the clip that went around online, the only clip that went around online was an incident between John Hunter Nemechek and Bubba Wallace, where they went into turn 1, or one of the fucking X amount of turns at Watkins Glen. I thought it was turn 1. And John Hunter just cleans him out. Just runs into the back of him going into the corner and just bumps him out of the way, and he spins out. And then after the race, like I said, you see Bubba Wallace getting in Christopher Bell's face, which again, you sit there and go, like, fucking why? We have no idea. Because Fox never found out. They never told us. And nobody knows why. What a great broadcast. They didn't even, also, by the way, they didn't even talk. They didn't even say, oh, there was actually an incident between Bubba Wallace and John Hunter. They just said, we don't know. That's all the commentators could say. Was why, hey, why is Bubba Wallace talking to Christopher Bell? Why are they arguing? We don't know. What happened to Cody Ware? Why was he dead in the last turn and probably should have brought out a caution that never came out? We don't know. Hey, Josh Berry wrecked on the last lap in turn 1. What happened there? Do we have a replay for that? What happened? We don't know. They don't fucking know. What are we short on cameras? That really must be it. I mean, they just must be short on cameras, and they, for some reason, this is something I don't understand. It's like, if you want to say, okay, we can't have a camera in every corner at some other road course that has fucking 20 corners. Whatever. Fine. That's a lot of cameras. It's a lot of people to pay. You're on a budget for some reason, and you can't afford it. Fine. This is Watkins fucking Glen. There ain't that many fucking corners. Not to mention the fact there's how many corners where you can set up a goddamn camera and shoot multiple corners from that same camera. The final 2 corners, if you were to set it up right, you could shoot both corners with the same camera. They're close enough. You can get at least a camera angle so we can have a replay. Maybe it's not the best angle, but at least we can see what physically happened on track versus just, we don't know. We only see the broken car that's trying to make it around the fucking track for some goddamn reason. 20, 30, 40, 50 miles an hour off pace, and yet he's still out there trying to run, even though he's basically locked in the position that he's in with like less than 5 laps to go, and he's interfering with the leaders. Like, but they don't know. They don't know why. What happened to Cody Ware? What happened to Josh Berry in the last corner? We don't know. But at least I know, thanks to Twitter and thanks to Instagram and thanks to people posting the in-car cameras, one of the incidents that I knew that happened was the Josh Berry one. I want to go ahead and get this out of the way, because this is the it seems like people are mostly on the same side of this, but I don't know what happened. Again, we don't know. Why was Josh Berry trying to basically shove Carson Hocevar out of the way going into turn 1? No idea why. Probably, if I'm being honest, it probably was Carson roughing up somebody else. But why was he roughing him up? I don't know. What did Carson do to him? I don't know. Because we were never told. No one ever found out. But of course, they go into turn 1. Bell tries to like rough him out of the way. And then as they're exiting turn 1, because of the fucking tire barrels, which, by the way, I will go on record and say I'm not a fan of those. It is, again, I understand, a way to try to enforce track limits without having time penalties and saying, oh, you stepped over the line or whatever. I understand. I agree. I don't want that. I want something physical out there that is going to deter people, drivers, from going out there. I don't want everybody to just use that runoff. If you want to shore up that turn 1 to where people don't use that runoff, this is where I'd say, this is where grass is a great use. This is where, even if you don't want to use grass, this is where you use sand. but it'll bring out a caution because somebody will blow turn one and then they'll get stuck. Yeah, so what? We need more cautions at road courses anyways. There's not enough of them. Same thing in fucking turn 7 or whatever that last turn, that second to last turn is. Same thing there. Keep the sand there. You know, like, I don't like the tire barriers because there's like, it just looks shitty. And plus, it's the old school thing of having sand out there in turn 1. I mean, you want to talk about an ultimate deterrent. That's an ultimate deterrent. But no, that costs money. Because then we'd have to dig up all the asphalt and replace it all with sand. And that costs money. But yet we're willing to spend shit tons of money to take sand, basically the same thing, dirt, not sand, but dirt, and travel it across the fucking country to some random fucking track and put dirt on it just to pick it back up again and then take it somewhere else again. But no, we won't do that. Why? We don't know. That's gonna be the episode. That's gonna be the name of this fucking episode. We don't know. So the Carson thing, back to that. That was not Carson's fault. If you go back and watch it, like Carson, my point in saying like he got to the tire barriers and he can only go so far to the left before he's gonna hit the fucking tire barrier himself. And Josh almost just drove up the track like he was using the runoff like last year and just turned himself off of his nose. So, and as far as I've heard, there hasn't been anything that's came of that. Funny enough, the only thing that came out of this weekend out of anything to do with Carson that I saw was, he had like said something on the radio after he let Suarez by or was going to let Suarez by. And then like Suarez hit him as he was letting him by. And I guess he said on the radio something to the degree of like, this is the last fucking time I let him by or something like that. Look, maybe I'm biased, but if everybody doesn't like one particular person, maybe it's that one particular person. And it's not even like, oh, I don't like you because you beat me, or I don't like you because you're trying to win the race. Like that shit is just incompetence. The Josh Berry thing is just incompetence. You know what I mean? So, moving on from that, one of the other instances that happened, again, was the John Hunter Bubba Wallace thing. This is another reason why, and I don't even know why John Hunter did that. I don't know if, again, he made another fucking mistake. Mr. Mistake Prone. Like, he has so many issues. There's so many times where I hear about John Hunter having issues over his entire career. And it's all, again, it's incompetency. This is why I'm not sitting there bashing Kyle like everybody else was from last week. I'm like, look, at the end of the day, yes, should Kyle have been a little bit smarter about who he raced around? But again, he's still racing around somebody who isn't very good. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's more on the guy who isn't very good. I don't even know what happened between him and Bubba. I have no idea. Again, we don't know. And again, I also don't know why. And it almost looked like, look, we didn't get audio of Bubba going up to Christopher Bell and complaining to him, but it looked like they ended in a cordial way. I wouldn't be surprised if Bubba went up to Christopher and was yelling at him, and Christopher's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And then Bubba's yelling at me, you fucking dumped me, blah, blah, blah. And then Christopher's like, it wasn't even me. I don't even know what you're talking about. When did I dump you? In turn 1, you fucking dumped me towards the end. That was not me. And he goes, oh, it wasn't you? No, it was fucking not me. What the fuck are you talking about? What are you on, dude? Oh, man, my bad. And then pats him on the arm there. We're all good then. My bad. Yeah, that wasn't me, dude. There's some other fucking guy. Oh, my bad, man. My bad. I wouldn't be shocked if that happened. I don't think that actually did happen, but I wouldn't be shocked if it did. more than likely what actually happened was something, again, that we didn't see because the broadcast, again, they didn't know. And the Cody Ware thing, I'll end the cup race on this. Because, I mean, the results is what you expected. SVG went out there and dominated the field and, put on a clinic like he does every road course. But the Cody Ware thing, I will go ahead and say on record, yeah, everybody is, it's so funny how NASCAR is so quick to jump the gun on cautions that probably shouldn't be cautions. And then, like, they're fucking blind to the most obvious, like, hey, he, like, died in the last corner and destroyed his car and probably shouldn't be on the track anymore because he hit the wall so hard and probably should park the car. But yeah, no caution. You want to know what their excuse is? They didn't know. What do you mean you didn't know? It happened in the last corner. It was just right there, basically in front of you, just a little bit off to the right, probably, from where the tower is. No, we didn't know. The fuck you mean you didn't know? How the fuck don't you know? Even if we don't have TV cameras in every corner, NASCAR should have mandatory fucking cameras in every corner to where you should be able to see all parts of the track. So that when a crash does happen, you should be able to see it on any monitor that's in front of you and be able to say, oh, look, that guy just died in the last corner there, the 51 car, Cody Ware. Put it out. Somebody hit the caution button. I mean, he's destroyed. Look at his car. Points at everybody else in the tower. I mean, look at his fucking car. It's destroyed. Like, the back is completely pushed in. He looks like, look at him. He looks like he has a concussion. You probably should make him park the car. I mean, that thing looks, there's no way that thing's passing the DVP if we were to put him on the clock. If that was still a thing. Like that car was destroyed. Again, I don't even know why, even if you didn't throw the caution, I don't even know who the fuck was in charge of putting that 51 car back out on the track? And why? What the fuck was the point? What were you going to gain? You weren't going to gain any spots. You were fucking done at that point. You were getting lapped like crazy. You were a moving chicane. And Cody Ware already is a moving chicane. And now you've put a moving chicane out there that's disabled. You've put a disabled moving chicane out there and told people to try to get around it. What the fuck is that? Yeah, stupid. What a shocker. NASCAR fucking can't figure out how to throw a caution when they actually need to throw a caution, but then they're real quick to the fucking trigger whenever somebody just got a bit too loose or they saved it. They're fine. No caution needed. Nope. We need a commercial break. And I would have also expected them to want to throw a caution there because it would have bunched up the field. It would have shored up SVG's lead and would have given somebody else a chance of, because you know how NASCAR is. They like their manufactured chaos wins. So they would have loved to have seen somebody just fucking barrel it off into turn one, wipe out SVG, and then go out and steal a victory. So I'm shocked that they weren't on that fucking thing, just pounding on the fucking caution button. Because they would have gotten two things that they wanted. They would have gotten an extra commercial break where they could have fed more commercials to us. And then at the same time, they could have probably gotten a chaos victory for Tyler Reddick or whoever the fuck else was. Who else was in the top five? For like Ty Gibbs or a Michael McDowell, something like that. I'm shocked they didn't throw the caution. They probably, and again, in a situation where they should have. O'Reilly Series race, Connor owns when it comes to the O'Reilly Series at Watkins Glen. I guess it's just it is crazy. Parker pointed out on the broadcast, like it's crazy how somebody has 100% win percentage at a track, and it's not like, oh, I've only raced there one time. Like, no, you've raced there multiple times for multiple seasons now, and You have 100% win percentage. I did get a kick out of the joke in Victory Lane with Connor there. I got a kick out of that. I thought that was pretty funny from Justin Marks. Plus, the looking at the results, I mean, again, I feel like a broken record every week that now it's like road courses. Parker Retzlaff running top 10, decent finish. I know it's under different circumstances, but technically beat SVG. Brent Cruz, wow. If you wanted to ask me at this point now, who is going to probably replace Denny Hamlin in that 11 car, it's probably going to be Brent Cruz. And I understand that correlation from the O'Reilly Series to the Cup Series is two different worlds. But you cannot at this point deny the fact that in the very short time that he has been in this O'Reilly Series, it's reminiscent of somebody who is like the prodigy guy. Like a prodigy driver that, okay, yeah, let's put it this way. Brent has ran 4 less races than everybody else. He's ran 4 less races than everybody else in the top 27. Because technically 28th is Josh Williams, who only ran 10 races. But everybody else in the top 27 in points for the O'Reilly Series has ran all 13 races. Brent Cruz has only ran 9. And he's 11th in points. He's already in the top 12, and if the chase were to start today, he'd be in. Like, what is that? What's the math on this? 21 points back? Yeah. 21 points back from his teammate Taylor Gray, who, again, by the way, has won a race this year and has ran 4 more races than Brent Cruz has. So, say what you want about, I was saying earlier how, the talent level has ran dry. Yeah, I mean, it really kind of has. If you compare it to a couple of years ago, the talent level has pretty much ran dry. I mean, if you were to ask me, if you were to say, okay, you're a top level team, and when I mean top level team, I mean big 3. Anybody who's in the O'Reilly Series right now, who are you taking? I am going to take, now Corey Heim isn't the O'Reilly Series guy, but if you want to say Truck Series guy, Corey Heim's the one I'm taking out of the Truck Series. Obviously, he's my number 1 pick. But Brent Cruz has now entered that conversation as being the second guy. And besides that, I mean, everybody else has just kind of been okay. I mean, you kind of think that Hendrick would take Corey Day, but I don't know. I would want to see more out of Corey Day. I mean, if you look at the top points guys in the O'Reilly Series, I'm not taking Justin Allgaier. He's too old. I'm not taking Sheldon Creed. He can't consistently win. I'm not taking Jesse Love. I think he's just okay. I think he's good to a point. Definitely not taking Brandon Jones. I need more time for Corey Day to show me that he's got something. I'm not taking Sammy Smith or Austin Hill. I know some people really like Carson Quaffle, but I need more time with him. I think I just need to see him race more and need to see him show more of development. I like Parker Retzlaff, but I think he's more so of a career O'Reilly Series guy as of right now. Maybe if he keeps showing what he's got, just keeps running well, then maybe he can break out of that. Taylor Gray, again, same thing. I need to see more out of him. Sam Mayer, I think, is a career O'Reilly Series guy. William Sawalich in the same boat as some of these other guys. I need to see more. He's not ready. Raja Karuth, I think he's at his peak. I don't think he's a Cup Series guy. I think he's an O'Reilly Series guy for the rest of his career. Maybe he gets spot starts in the Cup Series, or maybe he get a low-end series guy or a low-end series ride for him. But I mean, everybody else in here is existing. Ryan Sieg, Brendan Poole, Jeb Burton, Dean Thompson. You kidding me? Get out of here with that. Anthony Alfredo, no. Clemens, Blaine Perkins, Harrison Burton. He's already tried it. It's not going to work. He's not a Cup guy. Patrick Staropoli, no. I mean, you're getting down to the nothings. LeVar Scott, Josh Bilicki, Austin Green, Kyle Sieg, Josh Williams, Ryan Ellis. And if you go to the truck series, let me take a look at the truck point standings. I mean, Caden Honeycutt, I need to see a lot more out of him. I want to see a lot more out of him. A lot of it is because of the fact it's like, okay, you're in a truck that just came off of setting, record for having, I think, the best statistical year in Truck Series history. So I need to see some more time from you. You only just won your first race, which, by the way, congratulations to Caden. I did say that I thought he would win a race this year. I honestly didn't think it would be a road course, but I did say, yeah, he's going to win a race. And I think at this probably he'll win a couple more. I don't think he's done winning. Chandler Smith, I'm not a big fan of. I don't think there's much there for him. Lane Riggs, I mean, we're talking years. Same thing with Gio Ruggiero. It's like years and years of time before and some major leaps that I'd want to see before I'd say yes. I mean, Christian Eckes, no. Ben Rhodes is a career truck guy. Ty Majeski, I think, is a career truck guy. Same thing with Tyler Ankrum, Daniel Hemrick, Friesen. Jake Garcia is too young. Again, that's years down the line. Brendan Queen, maybe years and years down the line. Again, same thing with Jake Garcia. I need to see major leaps. Justin Haley, no. Andres Perez, don't know about that. Tanner Gray, again, I need to see leaps and bounds. I'm skipping over Grant Enfinger. Too old. Not going to happen. Dawson Sutton, I don't see it. Minnie Tyrell, that's just no. Cole Butcher, same thing, no. And again, these are the names. Chris Wright, Connor Mozak, Corey LaJoy, Frankie Muniz, Spencer Boyd, Landon Lewis, Tyler Reif, Daniel Dye, Adam Andretti, Timmy Hill. I mean, yeah, this is the group of people that you got. This is who's left. So yeah, the talent pool has gotten pretty thin. So if you were to ask me, if you're running a Cup team, who out of the O'Reilly series and the Truck series are you going to possibly take to take your next seat? Like, I think Legacy Motor Club, I think Jimmy said something recently on Corey LaJoy's podcast about they're going to have a third charter next year. And it's going to be the 84 car. And say whoever has that charter right now, they don't take that car, or take that driver, I should say. Say they go get somebody from the O'Reilly series or the Truck series. There's only two names. That's literally it. It's Corey Heim and Brent Cruz. As far as guys that, like, I would say right now I would give a legitimate shot to. And it's not just, I'm also not just saying that because I'm bringing up the example of a Toyota car and I'm picking Toyota drivers. I'm saying across the board. Like, Chevy right now, maybe, like I said, maybe Carson could be ready in the future. Maybe Corey Day could be ready in the future. But if you're talking what I believe is most ready driver, Brent Cruz has shown in the short amount of time he's been in the O'Reilly series a ton of potential and a ton of talent. And that is more so what I'm saying. Corey, the example of Corey, like, Corey has shown he's ready. Like, he's shown that he's ready. He's shown some speed in the Cup Series car already. He's shown speed in the trucks beyond belief. Every race that he's in, he's basically either winning or he's about to win. Like, he's a finished product. He is as ready as you can make somebody in the lower series. It's time for him to go to the Cup Series. The reason why I picked Brent Cruz is because is if you were to say, okay, if you plopped him in a cup car, is he going to be fast right out of the gate? No. But he is showing the most potential. He's showing the most potential over anybody else by a good amount. And so that's why it's like, that's it. Those are the two guys, you know? And if the case is true where, again, I don't remember off the top of my head, I could probably, maybe ChatGPT or Google AI or something will tell me who holds the Legacy Motor Club charter in NASCAR right now. According to Google AI, they are not telling me. Okay, so their plan is to acquire a third car, according to Google AI. But I saw something that Jimmy said that the 84 is just going to run like they're getting a third car next year. Oh, it's from Rickware Racing. That's right. That's right. Okay, so now this says obviously is legal dispute over purchasing an additional charter from Rickware Racing. I don't know if that means the one that the 42 car is in, but here we go. Maybe something here. Nope, nothing. Okay, so I would just say this. Oh, Jayski's got the whole charters. Okay. It's maybe the RFK one. I don't know. This is all confusing. Regardless, I know that Jimmy said that they are planning on moving to a third car next year. And so if that's the case, if we're going to take that on face value and say the 84 car is going to be a full-time ride next season, and whether it's RFK or it's Rickware Racing or whomever, my assumption is that I don't know if it's Rickware Racing. Fuck's sake, dude. Get Cody out of there. He should not be running a Cup Series ride. He's just not good enough. Like, get him out. And if it's one of the RFK cars, then I'd say, well, is it Ryan Preece? Now, based off of Ryan Preece's running as of late, I would say you'd maybe want to keep him. But do they want a Toyota guy in there? If they have the opportunity to put Corey Heim in that car, do you take Corey Heim over Ryan Preece? I think you do. The potential is there. He has shown much more speed on the lower levels than Ryan Preece ever did. And not to mention, he is a Toyota driver. So Toyota, I think, would be more willing to maybe back Legacy Motor Club a bit more, knowing that, hey, they got Corey Heim and they see a lot of potential in Corey. So maybe the money train would be a little bit more open for them if they were to take Corey. Brent Cruz maybe would get shafted on that one. And then he would obviously inevitably, I think, take the 11 down the line, which I don't think is a bad thing. I mean, extra years in the lower series, some people want guys getting up there so quick, They want them up there tomorrow. They want them up there as soon as possible. Like, sometimes it's better to take your time. And sometimes it's better to let guys have more time and learn racecraft. Learn how to actually race a bit better in the trucks and the O'Reilly series, because that's ultimately what they were made for. They were made for people, especially the truck series, was made for young talent to actually learn racecraft and learn how to race. And so then when they got the opportunity to race in either, at the time, the Busch series, now the O'Reilly series, or the Cup series, they were more ready. Now people just want, he's 18, get him in a cup car. Get him up there as soon as you can. Well, maybe it'd be better if he spent some more time on the trucks rather than give him our cup equipment and let him go wreck every other week because he hasn't learned racecraft or he's not prepared. And then you label him as a bust because he's not prepared. So that's my rant on that. But besides what I kind of already mentioned about the weekend races, it's road course racing. It is what it is. Let's get into my top 10 and we'll get out of here. This is going to be a shorter one this week. Last week's top 10 from Texas. Tyler Reddick, again, number 1, 12th week in a row. Chase Elliott, number 2. Denny Hamlin was 3rd. Ryan Blaney was 4th. Ty Gibbs was 5th. Carson Hocevar was 6th. Chase Briscoe was 7th. Kyle Larson was 8th. Ryan Preece was 9th. And Chris Buescher was 10th. Here is my new top 10 from this week, which I'm going to go ahead and make a quick adjustment to because I forgot about somebody. But number 10, I am going to put SVG in at number 10. Look, he's ran at times decently well on ovals, and I am at least going to put him in my top 10 for at least this week because holy shit, you cannot deny the dominance on road courses that he has. It puts him in the top 10 for at least 1 week. I mean, when you go out there and you spank the field so badly, you go from 25th to 1st in like 8 minutes. I think that's how long the video was that I saw. NASCAR posted some video online I saw of like, it was like an 8-minute clip of like, watch since they dropped the jack on SVG's car when he pit to when he actually got the lead. It was like 8 minutes. So, and you can watch him just weed through the field of 25 other fucking cars. It's fucking insane. So SVG is 10. Number 9 is Christopher Bell. Kind of a rougher week this past week. I really expected him to be a lot faster. I really, really, really did. But he's slowly kind of inching his way back down the top 10 here. Not had the results that I had hoped he would have, and also just not having the speed I had hoped he would have. I really expected him to be at least a top 10 car for Watkins Glen, and wasn't really close. Number 8, Chris Buescher. I don't know why I said it like that, but Chris Buescher has been running a lot more consistently. 12th place finish at Watkins Glen, coming off the heels of some good finishes. Another one I thought would be more competitive as far as finishing top 5. I had, who is the guys I had picked last week? I had SVG, Zilich, Buescher, Allmendinger. I think I did give an honorable mention to Christopher Bell. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. And Gibbs was my underdog. But, you know, again, I kind of expected Buescher to be a bit faster. He had some success in road courses here in this next-gen car, and he had been running well recently. I kind of thought that momentum would carry him a bit more, but still had some good speed last week and is probably continuously keep having some good speed here. Number 7 is Carson Hocevar still. Hocevar, I wanted to not punish too badly, just did not look like he had the speed. It's Watkins Glen. Some people have it, some people don't. It really didn't look like he had very good speed either, which I didn't really expect. You never really expect him to have true top 5, top 10 speed, I think, at least, at road courses. When I think of road courses, I don't think of Carson Hocevar. What's funny is I'm sitting here as I'm talking, I'm trying to find his goddamn name, and I can't find his name on the running list because I wanted to say where he ran, and yet I can't find him. Holy shit, 28th. Maybe I'll knock him down another peg. But he didn't win last week or 2 weeks ago at Talladega, and he had a good run at Texas. So I won't punish him too bad. He's at 7. Where did I have him last week? I had him 6. Okay, so he drops a spot. Number 6 is, and maybe I'm punishing him too much. I had Chase Elliott 2nd last week. I have him 6th this week. Hendrick as a whole was awful. William Byron finished 36th, straight up running. I know, or actually, he was running by the end, but I know he was in a crash there. But also, his 3 other teammates all finished 23rd, 24th, and 25th. Larson was 23rd, Elliott was 24th, and Bowman was 25th. So it's more so a Hendrick thing than Chase, but still, like, that's pretty rough. So I got to knock him down a peg, especially compared to some of the other guys that are ahead of him here on this list and how they ran. Number 5, Denny Hamlin. Nothing too great, but nothing too bad. 16th place finish. Again, he's been running just as well as Chase for most of these last how many weeks. And a good finish at Watkins Glen bumps him up a spot. Number 5. Number 4, Ryan Blaney. Look, he probably, as I said earlier, should have more wins than he has had so far this season. And a lot of it has been his crew has cost him. 11th place finish here. Beating out Chris Buescher. Another one of the guys, like I said, that should have ran, that I expected to run better. But still another solid run for him. I got Blaney at 4-3. Jesus, I'm going to get, for anybody who's listening, probably not going to like this, but Chase Briscoe. This is not a rankings based off of wins. This is not a standings. This is a power rankings. And I understand that the finishing order and the standings are going to show that he has not been good, but he has had just as much speed as all the other Gibbs cars. He has been most consistently the one outlier over everybody else that has had good speed and has had not been able to finish. It's like almost every week where if he has race winning speed, like true race winning speed, something happens to where he doesn't finish well. And then every other week that he doesn't have good race, like a couple days ago at the Glen, doesn't have race winning speed, but is able to find his way to finish in the top 5. This is a team, to me, I feel like if there's any team that is a monster waiting in the wings to just blow up and start winning races and be a true championship contender, it's the 19 car. That is the car that I'm waiting to take that next step and just start tearing through people because they have the race winning speed. Like I said, I think that Chase has ran extremely well especially even considering where he was a few years ago. They have the speed. I think he's a good enough driver. They just need to stop making mistakes. They need to stop having mechanical issues. They need to stop making mistakes on pit road. He needs to stop making mistakes on pit road. He needs to stop making mistakes on track. If they were to clean that up, he is a monster waiting in the wings to just really go on a tear. So with that, I have him 3. Number 2, Ty Gibbs. Ran consistently well. Last how many weeks has, like I said, this whole year has had good speed. Finished 3rd this past weekend at Watkins Glen. Great race for him. Good finish. Gibbs is showing, again, because he now has the speed, he's showing the speed on road courses, which, again, when he was in the O'Reilly series at the time, the Xfinity series, he was one of, if not the best road course racers at that time. And that was around the time where it was like Chase Briscoe was still down there. Cindric was still down there. Like some good names were still down there in the O'Reilly series. And he was beating them by a good margin. Like he was the road course ringer there for a bit. So 3rd place finish. Like I said, I had him as my dark horse pick last week. Or my underdog pick, if you will. And I was on the mark with a P3 finish. Go me. And number 1, 13 weeks in a row. 13 motherfucking weeks in a row. Tyler Reddick is still number 1. It's hard to not make him number 1 when he's still got, like I said, I know it's not a standings, like I said earlier, and it's not based off wins, but he's ran well every week. It's like almost every week he's finishing top 5 or top 10. Top 5 again at the Glen. Was running 2nd there towards the end. So it's hard to not move him out of my number 1 spot. You know, like I'm waiting for the time where he hits a rough patch and I can change that. Trust me, I'm waiting for the moment, but it just hasn't happened yet. So All-Star race this weekend at Dover. It'll be interesting to see how it goes. I don't see a lot of extremely optimistic opinions on how people think it's going to go. A lot of people feel like this is not going to go well, and it's going to be a really rough watch. I unfortunately am in that camp as well. I don't have a lot of confidence that this is going to go very well, but we'll see. I got 4 ones to watch. I don't have an underdog for this week, but my 4 to watch, Hamlin, Elliott, Briscoe, and Reddick. I mean, it's hard to, like, you're going into an all-star race. So if you're going into an all-star race, you're going to pick, in my opinion, you're going to pick the 4 best guys that you feel like have been the best all season. Those are my 4 in no particular order, but those are the 4 guys who I feel like have been the best all season for different reasons. Hamlin and Elliott have shown speed everywhere they've gone. They've also won races. Reddick has been the most dominant with the 5 wins that he has, and Briscoe is the quiet one, where he's had speed, but he's had anything and everything happen to him, even more so than Ryan Blaney. And maybe I'll make Ryan Blaney my underdog here as an underdog pick for Dover. But those 5 really are the 5 to watch, I think, as the season goes on. It's Hamlin, Elliott, Briscoe, Reddick, and Blaney. 4 out of those 5 have somewhat proven that they can keep the speed up consistently. Hamlin, Elliott, Blaney more so than Reddick. And Briscoe's the one that hasn't shown it because, again, he hasn't been with a great team like Gibbs. He was with Stuart Haas there towards the end when it was in the doldrums. And then now that he's with Gibbs and a good team and a good car, he can maybe show that potential that he's always kind of had. So that's going to wrap it for me. I hope y'all enjoy. Again, apologize for anybody who was sitting there at Tuesday, 6 a.m. waiting for the show and didn't have it happen. I mean, life hit me like a fucking ton of bricks on Monday night. I didn't get home till very, very, like the latest I've ever gotten home from work. And at that point, it was so late that I was going to, like I said earlier in the show, I was going to have to rush through the show, and it wasn't going to be very good. I was probably going to miss things I wanted to talk about. I wasn't going to be able to explain things like I wanted to, and it was going to feel like a shitty show. So I felt like it was going to be okay for me to just wait another day. Plus, it gives me an opportunity to, there's how many times where I release a show on Tuesday morning, and then Tuesday afternoon, some piece of news comes out that I would have missed if I done the show the day before. So anyways, to anybody who made it to this part of the episode, to the end, like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. If you're watching on YouTube, watch on Spotify as well. Double up, be a true friend. Go to the Spotify link in the bio of the YouTube channel. Subscribe, go follow the Spotify, and go listen on Spotify as well. It's easier to listen there. You can put it on your phone and then just turn your phone off. You don't have to keep YouTube open if you don't have YouTube Premium like me. I'm a freeloader. I don't have YouTube Premium. So I understand it's easier for probably people to listen on Spotify. So go listen on Spotify if you want to. But again, I'll be back next week. Hopefully back to our regularly scheduled program at 6 a.m. on Tuesday. But if not, I'll see you when I see you. And everybody else, try to enjoy the race at Dover. Try to enjoy the All-Star race. It's the last race on Fox, so we can at least be happy about that. But anyways, to everybody else listening, take it easy.